Good morning, everyone. So my name is Paul Johanis. I'm with the Greenspace Alliance of Canada's capital. So we're a nonprofit volunteer organization dedicated to protecting and preserving green space. We are very happy to be part of this event. This is our first participation in the workshops that Walkable Ottawa and Ecology Ottawa have been putting together at the neighborhood level. And at the neighborhood level is the key thing. Because when access to green space and access to Canopy, and it matters at the neighborhood level. People benefit from it at the neighborhood level. And so we'll come back to that theme, I think, throughout. Green space and tree canopy are sort of two sides to what we're trying to protect and preserve. Green space being parks, woodlot, woodland, wooded areas, open space, and the city has targets for access to such lands, sort of distance targets for people from residents, has targets around that aspect. But in a way, the closest green space to people are the trees down their streets. And so canopy is a whole other aspect of this, and very important to residents, because it's really the most accessible green space is to have trees right in your neighborhood, right on your property, right around your property. And so having canopy cover targets is also important, and we are looking for that in the new official plan. The city's official plan up until now has not had any particular canopy target. It has a notional 30% target from a long, long time ago in a kind of aspirational proto-official plan around green space, but it really never had any bite. So we're happy to see that the city has proposed in its draft official plan that it set a citywide target of 40% canopy cover. So it's nice to see that there's an actual policy being put forward in the actual official plan that would drive that. Now our concern is more like in the same way that on the green space side, there's an equity of access to green space measure. Everyone should have access to green space within a certain distance from their home. With the canopy cover, there's a 40% cover target for the city overall, but there's no measures around equity of access by neighborhood to that canopy cover. There's nothing in the official plan that talks about at a neighborhood level, at a local level, what should a target be? And should it be 40%? There's a good question. In fact, that's the question we'll be testing today. It probably varies by neighborhood. In our technical input to the city on this, we put forward that there ought to be a 40% canopy cover by neighborhood, or such target as would significantly increase the canopy cover for a given neighborhood that's under that threshold. But one way or the other, we think there needs to be a target at the neighborhood level. Otherwise, there's nothing really to drive the conservation plans, the preservation plans, the planting plans for a neighborhood. And so the city could achieve a 40% canopy cover target by having a lot of trees in the green belt, for example, which it considers as part of the calculation, and still have some tree deserts spread out in certain neighborhoods, and there's nothing in the official plan to actually motivate or provide a legal framework for ensuring that that is addressed. So that's kind of the most important thing that comes out of these kinds of sessions, is to be able to come back to the city with some explicit direction on how to ensure that at a neighborhood level there's policy framework to support having a proper target. So 40%, I mentioned in the introduction, there's science around why 40%. There's clear health benefits associated with that range, that scale of canopy cover. You could just do a quick Google search. You'll find any number of studies that support that on all kinds of different aspects. There's a study in the Lancet from just last year that talks about improved reduction in premature mortality associated with increases in canopy cover. So for us, in Ottawa, recently, well, when the tree passed its urban conservation bylaw, I mean, the new bylaw, the tree protection bylaw, which came into effect January 1st of this year, it did a study before doing that work, that review, and it found that over the 9-year period between 2008 and 2017, um, that between 30% and 58% of the trees that they examined in their sample, they took a sample and followed the trees through that period, um, between 30% and 58% in those neighborhoods were lost and not replaced. In certain neighborhoods, they saw canopy cover drop from 50% to 29% in that period. In one case, in another neighborhood, from 51% to 30%. This really drove home that this is a crisis. This loss of canopy cover in the urban neighborhoods is a crisis right now. It needs to be addressed in a vigorous way. So um, the instruments that we have, well, we have the policies of the official plan, hopefully. We have the new tree protection bylaw, which is just coming into effect. The canopy laws that we've seen have sort of proven that the old bylaw did not really work very effectively. So we're concerned about the new bylaw. We're hopeful, but we still haven't seen it in operation very much. So we're following it very closely to see whether or not it's going to provide more protection. Um, Now, the big source in the same study, they found that a lot of that loss was due to development and infill. That was the single most, the largest contributor. But there was also natural mortality, wind damage, and especially invasive species. So, um, uh, but if we could handle at least the infill and development part of this through an appropriate regulatory framework and proper planning, that's key. That's critical for us right now. If we're going to have more intensification in our neighborhoods, we need better protection for the canopy cover. So maybe we could just quickly before I go out, we wanted to sort of review some typical kind of canopy covers. I don't know, Rosalind, if you could put up this your slide or. So if you this is the interactive maps that's available on the NCC's website of the 2019 tree canopy assessment that was done by the NCC, the City of Gatineau, and the City of Ottawa. And we could just see in the middle here the canopy cover for the Overbrook neighborhood. If we just zoom in a bit, we could see right there. So there's the river, there's the neighborhood. So, I mean, we could see, this is from satellite imagery. We, we could see a lot of bare spots, and large bare spots are basically parks. We could see the large Guillaume-Juliet Park, but also we could see that it's kind of sparse along certain streets. If we zoom back out a bit, we could just look across the way, say Sandy Hill across the way. Kind of much greener, less bare spots. So in this study, they then did some analysis and they found like a neighborhood like Overbrook. They have it at the neighborhood level results. So Overbrook was put in the less than 29% canopy cover category at this point. So big picture, that's what we're starting from. I guess at an individual street level, if you really, I think Rosalind has some pictures, we can see some illustrations here of what various canopy covers look like and over time. So here's I guess a time series for the City View neighborhood that shows kind of evolution of cover over this period of, it looks like 19, I can't see I can't see exactly where it starts.
1965
Okay, to 2019. With the evolution over that time, again, a low canopy kind of situation there in City View. I think we have in other neighborhoods that you're looking at, well, Overbrook's in there as well. So, I mean, this is very, very close. So a very, very blown up kind of imagery. But we can see as we get down to very detailed levels of geography, the coverage is mostly streets and houses and not trees. And I guess you have another one here.
Yeah, Alta Vista.
Okay.
And these last two are interesting because you can see the high point of tree cover in the 90s, and then the fall.
Yeah.
The tree cover is reducing,
Yeah.
and Andrew can speak to that a bit later.
So so that just provides some context to see where, like what's the scale of things that we're dealing with and what's the kind of time series evolution of that of coverage of tree coverage in various neighborhoods. So anyway, so that's kind of the introduction to the challenge today, is to think about what is a proper canopy cover for a neighborhood. We're sure it's absolutely necessary that there be targets at a neighborhood level. What should they be? And that's what we'll be talking about. So thanks.